What's up, guys? It's Lefty here, and I'm back with another video. And I'm going to be breaking down the Week 5 NFL schedule of games. Haven't done a video in a couple months, so might be a little rusty. Hopefully, I can pass along some information that'll help you guys confirm some bets. I'm recording this late on Friday, so keep in mind some things may change from now depending on when you watch this video. I'm not going to do a crazy deep dive into each game and have this video be 2 hours long. Nobody's got time for that nonsense, so I'll quickly go through each game. And yeah, let's just get right into it. Starting with the neutral site game in London between the Giants and Packers. My number for this game, my power rating number, has the Packers -10. This line's bounced all over the place. Some books are showing 7.5, others at -9. And between 7.5 and 9 is kind of that dead zone. Some books like to post teaser blocker numbers at -9 with, a 6-point teaser, bringing it down to -3, and a push on teasers are considered losses. And we know 3 is the most common margin of victory in the NFL. Packers seem like a good teaser side, especially if you can get below that key number of 3. Looks like Danny Dimes will be ready to start for the Giants, but not sure who he's going to throw to. That kid wide receiver, Dale or Wandle Robinson, he's going to be out with a knee. Kadarius Toney, hamstring there, and then Kenny Golladay. I think they're all banged up and likely to miss. Defensively, the Giants, Leonard Williams, he's missed the last 2 games. He's a stud, but it looks like he's trending towards playing. That'll be a boost for him. Only way I could see a play on this one is teasing Green Bay. Should see a focused effort from the Pack to kind of bounce back after a not-so-impressive performance last week versus the Patriots, but laying a big number like -9 with such a low total is always tough. I could see the Giants have some success running the ball. Packers haven't exactly been, stuffing the run. It's only been 4 weeks, so you can't really look too deep into certain metrics or weigh them too heavily, but they are currently ranked, I believe, 28th in rush DVOA. The under has taken some sharp money there. The Packers currently are the slowest paced team in the league at 32 seconds per play. Next game up, we got the Seahawks and Saints. This line is currently around 4.5 to 5 or 5.5. On Monday, there was a sharp professional betting group that bet the Saints -4 and immediately moved this line to -6. Since then, there's been a little bit of a buyback with the number back down around that 5 range. Saints did lose last week. But a lot of talk, I talk about this a lot in the Discord, and with hidden performances or kind of misleading final scores. The Saints lost, but they outgained the Vikings by a full yard per play. And, of course, the final score is important, but if we're looking for, predictive indicators for future matchups, the box score can kind of tell you a more realistic story of how the game was played. And, those sharps who bet the Saints -4, they definitely don't care, that the Saints lost last week. Geno Smith has looked pretty, damn good so far. I have him rated as the 3rd best QB through the first 4 weeks, based on a few different metrics that I weigh performance on. Those numbers could be a bit inflated basing on, kind of on playing the Lions in Seattle. They had 8.8 yards per play, 10.7 per pass, and 7.1, I believe, per run versus the Lions. But this Saints defense is not the Lions defense, and it's going to be the best defense Geno Smith has played since San Fran week 1 when Seattle's offense only scored 7 points. This game here is a big mismatch on defense. I have Seattle rated as the 2nd worst defense, with the Lions being the worst. As of this recording, the Saints haven't even named a starter yet. But the Saints have a lot of questions right now for personnel and who will be available to play or not. This is going to be a tough one to make a play on. Um, Not to mention, through 4 games, the Saints are -7 in turnover differential, and you don't want to be backing, teams that are losing the turnover battle like that. But next game up, we have a divisional matchup between the Texans and Jacksonville. Line for this game is held pretty steady throughout the week. Opened around 7, and that's where we see it now. It's kind of weird seeing the Jags as favorites, let alone touchdown favorites. I read or heard this stat the other day, but in the last 33 games for Jacksonville, they've only been favored twice, and both times it was versus the Texans. And both those times the Jags were favorites. They lost those games by double digits. Just kind of an interesting stat there. Doesn't really have any predictive value on this Sunday's game or anything. But, man, last week when the Jags took that 14-0 lead versus the Eagles, I thought to myself, okay, the Jags have officially turned the corner, and then they go ahead and allow 3 unanswered TDs to end the first half. Jags ended with, I think, 5 turnovers last week, and Trevor Lawrence finished the game with the lowest QB expectation of the season. And things should get easier for Trevor this week against the bottom of the league defense in the Texans. I used to be a big, divisional underdog better years ago. They crushed it year after year, divisional dogs. And it makes sense too, when you have teams with a lot of familiarity, teams playing each other twice in the same year, usually close games, so I'd take the points. But that angle there seems to be gone now. Last few years, divisional dogs have been awful. Last 5 years, they're only like 50% against the spread, and divisional dogs of 7.5 or more the last 2 seasons are only 8-23 against the spread. This won't be a game I'll be involved in. Next game up, we got Steelers Buffalo. This is the biggest spread on the board at 14. The Kenny Pickett era begins as he's going to get the start. He's got the hometown support, being a Pittsburgh guy in college. I'd love for him to have a big game, but a rookie on the road, first start against the big bad Bills, he has his hands full. And Buffalo loves to blow out these bad teams. Buffalo leads the NFL in point differential with a plus 56. One advantage I think the Steelers do have is a situational matchup here. We got Buffalo coming off games against Baltimore, Miami, and then they have KC on deck. So this is kind of a, let down, look ahead spot. Not sure if that alone is enough to back the Steelers, but I do have a bet on the total in this game. And that's posted in the Betting Network Discord community. I did that on Wednesday. The weather forecast for this game is calling for 20-mile-per-hour wind gusts. The total has since been adjusted for this, but I was able to get ahead of it. That kind of can give you an idea of what my bet is on that game. You can get all my plays in the Betting Network Discord community for free. Everything I do is free. I don't believe in cannibalizing other sports bettors like most of these, jamokes we see on here selling picks who have never even had a winning season in their life. But moving right along, next game up, we got Falcons in Tampa Bay. Line has hovered around 9.5 most of the week, and now we're seeing Tampa Bay in that double-digit range now. Falcons are going to be without running back Cordell Patterson, who has been steady so far this year. And the tight end there, the kid Kyle Pitts, he hasn't been practicing. So that's 2 big weapons right there for Atlanta. And on the flip side, this week is probably the healthiest we've seen Tampa Bay all year. They finally have a full week of practice together. And the Bucks have been getting money all week. And we've seen this line go from 7.5 to 10. I have to think Brady has a solid performance here, especially against this Falcons defense that just allowed 400 plus yards to Cleveland. Um, and again, the Falcons won, but if you look at the box score, it was more Cleveland, losing the game than the Falcons winning it. Browns were 1-4 in the red zone. With I think they had a drive that ended on the Atlanta 2-yard line that they didn't get any points from. I do have the Falcons offense rated inside the top 10 in EPA, but Mariota really struggled last week with I think a negative 14 below expectation, the third worst QB expectation of the week. But watching a little bit of that game or the replay of that game, Falcons wide receivers just got absolutely no separation. My first official bet this week was posted in the Betting Network Discord community on Monday, and it involved the Tampa Bay Bucks in a teaser. I got them from -8 down to -2. That number is now long gone, but members were all able to get down on that. Next game up, we look at the Bears and Vikings. This line was held around a TD pretty much all week, with some books hanging 7.5. My number on this game is right in line with where the market has it. Vikings barely beat a Saints team that was all banged up last week. They went, 2-5 in the red zone scoring and benefited from penalties. I think they were like plus 70 in penalty yards. But this Bears offense is bad. They had 4 drives inside the Giants' 25-yard line last week that resulted in 0 points. I want nothing to do with either team here. But next game up, Titans-Redskins. I'm not calling Washington the Commanders or the football team, but I'm going to stick with the Redskins for now. But regardless, this is an interesting matchup from a market perspective. The public is all over the Titans this week, which makes sense. They're coming off a win against the Colts, and Washington looked awful against the Cowboys. But when we look at the box score, the Titans scored twice off of turnovers. They were outgained by over 120 total yards, and then more than a full yard per play versus the Colts. Turnovers were the difference there, and there's a lot of variance in turnovers. There's not a lot to like about Washington. They only had 2 drives all game for more than 25 yards, and they gave away 135 penalty yards to Dallas. But there's no question Washington right now is getting some sharp, respected bets this week. The public's pounding Tennessee. This line's now moved from 3 down to -1.5. Some books like Pinnacle, they have Tennessee at -1. I'm not saying I have the balls to, back them. But Tennessee just played the Colts last week in a divisional, big game and won. This is now Tennessee's second road game in a row. They have to play the Colts again next week, which, division games always mean more. So we have a possible letdown or look-ahead spot here with the Titans. That's kind of like my thinking on, how anyone could possibly like Washington right now. I do have a best bet on this game on the total. That is posted in the Betting Network Discord community. It's a private Discord, but it's free. And I'm happy to give, anyone a link to join. Just hit me up on social media. Those links are in the description of this video. Now, next one up, looking at Miami and the Jets. This line's bounced all over the place. Miami -3 to 3.5 all week, back and forth, with the Dolphins getting most of the betting support. Dolphins did get some sharp money on the opener at some books who opened this line at Miami -2.5. Those 2.5s, were quickly turned into -3 and then 3.5. So you'll see a lot of historical trends between these two division teams who play each other twice a year. and the trends will all heavily favor Miami. They've dominated this series, but why is this line so low is my question. Miami won their last two games versus the Jets, both by one-score wins, and you guys in the Discord know how I feel about one-score wins. Teddy Bridgewater is going to be the starter for Miami this week, and we'll likely see a lot of those Teddy Bridgewater against the spread stats. I know he's, 43-21 against the spread or something as a starter, but the last 2 years he's only 15-14 against the spread. My personal opinion is that sharp money that hit Miami on the opener was a setup to get Miami up to plus 3.5, or to get them up to 3.5, and then come back on the Jets, and take them plus 3.5. The Jets were a big preseason sharp team, meaning a lot of sharps bet them over their regular season win totals. There was even some divisional championship bets. This is technically the Jets' week one, if you think about it, as a team, or what they were projected to be. Wilson, now has a full week of preparation with the starters, and I think this Jets team here this week is a sneaky sharp side. The Jets are a bit undervalued because, they've had 3 games with Flacco under center. And the Dolphins, I think, are a bit overvalued with their numbers based on Tua as a starter. Big difference between Tua and now Teddy, and with just 1 week to game prep for a drastically different type of quarterbacks here. I haven't officially bet anything on this game, but a divisional home underdog is kind of appealing to me here, especially if I can get like plus 3.5 at minus 110. Could be looking that way. Moving right along, what do we got next? Chargers and Cleveland. This line opened, Chargers -3, but those all quickly turned into 2.5s, and that's where we see most books have it now. I think the Browns have a good matchup at home here, catching the Chargers on, back-to-back road games and coming west to east. Chargers QB Herbert practice, and hasn't been much talk of his injury, but Keenan Allen is a question mark. Plus, something that has to worry Herbert, I think, or the Chargers in general, is the rookie starting tackle on Herbert's blind side. Now with Clowney and Myles Garrett likely to be suited up for this game, I kind of like the Browns in this one as small home dogs. I think if they commit to a heavy run game script, they're going to do just fine. Chargers run defense allowed like 150 to Jacksonville on the ground, then 130 to the Texans. And this total seems a bit high too, if the Browns kind of follow that run game script. I would think the Browns want to control the clock and keep the Chargers offense off the field. And if they have the horses to do it with those running backs, they just got to keep Brissett, out of those obvious throwing situations. And the Browns are a good 2-2 team. Both their losses are by a combined a total of 4 points. So I lean home dog here in that game. Next one up is Lions Patriots. I have a rule, in betting in the NFL, and it's I don't bet on or against my hometown team, which most of you can probably tell I'm from Boston, lifelong Patriots fan. I broke that rule week 3 of this season and bet New England versus Baltimore and lost. Now here I am week 5, and I've broken the rule again and bet New England -2 earlier in the week. After going years, not breaking this rule, I've already broken it twice in 5 weeks this season, and I don't care who the Patriots have under center. Bill will have him ready. And the Patriots defense, in my opinion, is very underrated. When you start to adjust for strength of offensive opponent played, you can start to see this unit as a much better unit than their surface numbers show. They played Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, and Tua. And this Detroit defense is horrible. I have them rated dead last in overall defensive EPA per play. They didn't force Seattle to punt once last week. And the Lions' offensive numbers are definitely skewed heavily. They've played the 32nd, the 25th, and the 26th ranked teams in offensive yards per play. And now they have some injuries on offense to some skill position players. And if that wasn't enough, this will be the Detroit's first game this season played outdoors in the elements. I feel like I'm pretty good at removing any kind of hometown team bias when breaking down games. And in this spot, especially at -2.5, I have to take the Patriots here. Few more games left here for me to break down, and I'll try to go through them quickly. I don't want this video to be, 30 minutes long, me rambling or my opinion about NFL games. But next one up, we got a 4 p.m. game, San Francisco 49ers, Carolina Panthers. This line opened San Fran -3.5 or -4 at some books, at some of the sharper market maker books. And the Niners went out on national TV Monday night and dominated the defending Super Bowl champs. And then the line immediately reopened Niners -5.5 or -6. And, everyone bet them. I think that maybe this is kind of a bit of a overreaction to a single game performance. But then again, this is Carolina's offense, and it's bad. I mean, this Niners defense is really good too. They're rated number 1 in total DVOA, or defensive value over average. Carolina's offense last week, they had drives that went for 9 yards, 0 yards, 11 yards, -4 yards, 29 yards, 34 yards, and 6 yards, 8 and 9 versus this Cardinals defense that ranks basically 29th in total DVOA. Baker Mayfield so far has had 9 passes batted down at the line of scrimmage. Justin Herbert led the NFL last year for the entire season with 17 passes batted down. So Mayfield's on pace to destroy that number. I'll be surprised if this San Fran line doesn't get to 7, with it sitting at 6.5 pretty much across the board right now. But the one thing keeping me from backing the Niners is the situational spot. I'm big on situational handicapping. I think it's something a lot of recreational bettors don't consider. Or consider enough. And, San Fran's in a bad spot and could possibly be in a big letdown spot, coming off that big divisional TV game on Monday night, now traveling cross-country on a short week, playing a very desperate team with Carolina head coach Matt Rule on the hot seat. And, San Fran kind of has tendencies to play down to their competition. And laying a touchdown on the road probably isn't something I'm going to be running to do. But I'm going to wrap this up with one more game because this video is already reaching that 30-minute mark, way longer than I wanted to be. But I'll have full game previews for the Sunday night and Monday night games in the Discord community. But I'll end it with this 4:25 game, Cowboys-Rams. There was talks about Dak possibly making his return this week, but looks like that's going to be next week. This look-ahead line was Rams -7, but recency bias is huge in the NFL. Rams get beat up on Monday Night Football. Cowboys have a convincing win, and that's all it takes to see this line go from Rams -7 to now an opener of -4. And quickly, for anyone unfamiliar with the difference between a look-ahead line and an opening line, the look-ahead line is a line that's available to at some books a week ahead of time. There are lines available for betting right now for like week 6 games. The Rams are, I think, -9.5 point home favorites versus Carolina next week, and Dallas is +6 for their big Sunday night football divisional game versus the Eagles next week. So these Sunday those lines, they'll come off the screen like this Sunday. They'll come off the screen until the games are over, and then the books will reopen the lines back up to start taking action. So we have a look-ahead line on this game, and then there'll be like opening lines. Rams were -7 versus the Cowboys on the look-ahead line, but opened -4 based on nothing more than just simply like a single game performance. I think the Cowboys are getting a little too much respect and are a bit overvalued here, considered they played the Giants, who are without several skill position players, and they played Washington. Two teams that are perfect matchups for Dallas, too. Rams, on the other hand, are a bit undervalued, in my opinion. The world saw them on prime time 2 times, once against Buffalo and then San Fran. But the 2 games against Arizona and Atlanta, the Rams completely dominated. So, and there's a lot of talk about the Rams' offensive line and injuries to some of the backups who have been starting, but those backups are injured, but the starters who are now, they're basically returning this week. So I think they're fine there. Yeah, it sounds like I'm making a case to play on the Rams here, but I don't actually have a play on the side. I do have a play on the total for that game. I actually have 6 NFL best bets posted in the Discord community right now, not including the under on the Thursday night game I won between the Colts and Broncos. The Discord is, totally free. You just need to be invited by an existing member or by me. My social media links are in the description of this video. I'll be happy to send you an invite link. As long as your name isn't something like, Diamond Pick Seller or Professional Sports Handicapper. We don't need any advice from people like that. I'm sure we couldn't help you anyway if you're, a pro bettor. But everything I do is free. I don't want, money from other bettors. I want to work with bettors to, kind of exchange information, and that can kind of help us win together. It's a wisdom of crowds sort of thing. But that is going to do it for me this week and the Week 5 NFL breakdown. Hopefully I was able to provide some helpful information to help you cash some tickets. I have a lot of educational videos on my YouTube channel if you care to learn on how to bet the right way. But yeah, until next time, good luck with all your bets. And as always, may all the refs' calls and all the loose balls go your way.